Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the fanfiction guy. Back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Deku Was a Secret Music Prodigy? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. It was nighttime at UA High School, and the atmosphere was lively with students and teachers enjoying a karaoke night. Many were singing their favorite songs, including Koikajairu, who was currently on stage. The event was filled with laughter and excitement, creating a joyful ambience. Izuku Midoriya sat with his friends Tenya Lida and Shoto Todoroki, while Ochako Uraraka and Tsuyu Azui were among the other girls from Class 1A. Although Izuku was enjoying the performances, his mind was elsewhere. Earlier that day, he had received a text from Melissa Shield, a girl he had met during a trip to I-island with All Might. The trip had not gone as planned, as villains had attempted to steal a powerful device. But with All Might's help, Izuku had managed to defeat the villain and save both Melissa and her father, David Shield. Melissa's message informed Izuku of an upcoming battle tournament on the island and invited him to participate. After discussing it with his mother, All Might, and his teachers, they agreed to let him go. The next day, Izuku, his mother, and All Might would leave for I-island. Eri, the little girl he and Mirko had rescued from Overhaul, would also accompany them. Eri had been slowly recovering, and Mr. Aizawa believed that seeing more of the world would aid in her healing. Izuku was excited to show her the sights of the island, including the expo and possibly the beach. As he glanced back at the stage, Izuku noticed Tetsu performing a duet with Kirishima, while a group of students, including Katsuki Bakugo, Shiro Hanta, Denki Kaminari, and Minoru Mineta, laughed together. Kaminari expressed his eagerness to see Izuku's reaction to an upcoming surprise, while Bakugo, with a mischievous grin, anticipated the moment when Izuku would be caught off guard. As the night progressed, the karaoke event neared its end. Midnight, the 18-plus hero, took the stage to announce the winner of a special performance. She revealed that the audience had voted for a student to sing the final song, and to everyone's surprise, the name drawn was Izuku Midoriya. Shocked, Izuku protested, believing there had been a mistake, but Midnight insisted he come up and perform. Nervously, Izuku took the stage, feeling the weight of the audience's gaze upon him. The girls from Class 1A watched him with concern, wondering how he had ended up in such a predicament. They exchanged glances, realizing that Bakugo and some of the boys were likely behind this prank. Momo Yaoyorozu felt a surge of anger, knowing they had all developed feelings for Izuku, though only Ochako's feelings were openly acknowledged. Despite his nerves, Izuku took a deep breath, adjusted the microphone, and began to sing. He poured his heart into the performance, expressing his emotions through the lyrics. The song spoke of longing and the longing to reconnect, resonating with the audience. As he sang about the rhythm of the night and the adventures that lay ahead, he felt a sense of freedom and joy, momentarily forgetting his anxiety. The karaoke night concluded with Izuku's heartfelt performance, leaving a lasting impression on everyone present. The experience not only showcased his talent but also brought the students closer together, united by the shared joy of music and friendship. As the music filled the gym, Izuku Midoriya captivated everyone with his performance. His classmates erupted in cheers and applause, celebrating his talent. Bakugo stood in awe, his jaw dropping at the unexpected display. Mr. Aizawa and Shoto Todoroki tapped their feet and snapped their fingers in rhythm, enjoying the moment as Izuku continued to sing. The atmosphere was electric, with Izuku's voice resonating through the gym. He poured his heart into the lyrics, expressing a longing to reconnect with friends and the joy of shared experiences. As he finished, silence enveloped the room for a brief moment before Ochako Uraraka's enthusiastic cheer broke through, igniting a wave of excitement among their peers. Izuku, feeling a rush of embarrassment, rubbed the back of his head and bowed as he stepped off the stage, only to be bombarded with questions from his classmates. Kirishima praised him for his manly performance, while Ochako and the other girls moved closer, their admiration evident. Izuku felt flustered, his cheeks reddening at the attention. Koika, impressed by his singing, asked how many instruments he could play. Izuku responded with a smile, listing the various instruments he enjoyed playing, emphasizing that music was more of a hobby for him. He still aspired to be the world's greatest hero, just like All Might. In the back of the gym, Fua Maata, a second-year student with pink hair, watched Izuku with a blush on her cheeks. She had developed a crush on him since his fight against Todoroki during the sports festival, and hearing him sing only deepened her feelings. The big three, Mirio Togata, Tamaki Amajiki, and Nijire Hato, cheered from their seats, with Mirio commenting on Izuku's hidden talents. Tamaki nodded, feeling a bit overwhelmed, while Nijire gazed at Izuku with admiration. The next morning, Tashinori Yagi, also known as All Might, entered Izuku's room, filled with posters and action figures of his former self. He asked if Izuku was almost done packing. Izuku mentioned needing to find a place to hide his music, not wanting anyone to discover it while he was away. All Might informed him that he was going to meet with Izuku's mother and that Mirio and his friends had brought Eri along. Izuku smiled and promised to join them shortly. After All Might left, Izuku hid his music under his bed, preparing for his journey back to I-island. Suddenly, he felt a surge of pain as electricity coursed through his body, activating one for all in his fingers. His eyes glowed a bright green for a moment before returning to normal. Confused and relieved that nothing seemed broken, he wondered about the strange occurrence. Unbeknownst to him, this glitch was just the beginning of a series of challenges he would face on I-island, challenges that could ultimately threaten his life. Shoto Todoroki woke up early that morning, preparing to visit his mother with his sister and brother. As he got ready, Midoriya rushed past him, carrying a suitcase. Shoto inquired about Midoriya's destination, to which Midoriya explained that he was going to I-island with All Might and his mother to participate in an upcoming fighting tournament. Shoto expressed his hope that Midoriya could join him to see their mother, mentioning that both Fuyumi and Natsuo had been asking about him, which surprised Midoriya. Midoriya recalled a moment when Fuyumi had thanked him for being Shoto's friend, causing a light blush to spread across his cheeks. Shoto, aware of his sister's growing feelings for Midoriya, had been devising a plan to bring them together. He believed that if Midoriya sang to her, it would help. Shoto was one of the few students at UA who knew about Midoriya's musical talent and the songs he created. Shoto voiced his concern about Midoriya's secret being discovered, but Midoriya assured him that he preferred to keep it hidden for now, not wanting any unwanted attention. He mentioned that he had all his CDs stored under his bed and hurriedly left the dorms, promising to see Shoto the following week and to send his regards to Shoto's family. Shoto smiled as he watched Midoriya leave, pondering the possibility that Midoriya might be All Might's secret child. He pulled out a notebook to jot down his thoughts about Midoriya's relationship with All Might before returning to his room to gather his belongings. Meanwhile, Izuku Midoriya exited Heights Alliance and spotted All Might conversing with his mother, alongside Mirio, Tamaki, Nijire, and Eri. Eri ran up to him, and Izuku knelt down to embrace her. After the hug, he greeted his friends, who asked about his trip to I-island. Izuku explained that he received an invitation to participate in the fighting tournament, believing it would be a good experience for Eri as well. Mirio jokingly advised him to keep Eri safe and not to sing too much, as it might attract attention from girls. Izuku, flustered by the comment, tried to brush it off. Mirio encouraged him to have a great time and assured him that they would be cheering for him. As Mirio left, he fist-bumped Eri and waved goodbye to Izuku. Just then, Nijire approached and kissed Izuku on the cheek, leaving him blushing furiously while Eri watched in confusion, not understanding the significance of the gesture. Inko, Izuku's mother, asked if they were ready to leave, and Izuku, still flustered, agreed. He loaded their luggage into the car and settled in the back seat next to Eri. All Might, with a broad grin, confirmed that they were all set to go. As they drove to the airport, All Might suggested playing one of Izuku's songs. Izuku happily agreed, having brought along a few tracks. He handed one to his mother, who asked about the song's title. Izuku informed her that the song was called You're Welcome, believing Eri would enjoy it. As the track began to play, Izuku watched Eri swing her feet and sway her head to the rhythm. The song filled the car with energy, and Izuku felt a sense of joy as he shared his music with them. When the song concluded, everyone clapped for him, and All Might praised Izuku for his impressive performance. Grateful, Izuku turned to Eri, eager to hear her thoughts on the song. Izuku felt a rush of warmth as Eri smiled at him, her joy evident as they finally arrived at the airport. Eri was captivated by the sight of the airplanes, her eyes wide with wonder. She asked what they were, and Inko explained that they were airplanes, capable of flying to various destinations. Eri's curiosity led her to inquire about their destination, and Toshinori informed her that they were heading to I-island, where one of his best friends and his daughter lived. He assured Eri that Melissa would be excited to meet her. However, Eri expressed her nervousness about meeting Melissa, worried that she might not be friendly. Izuku reassured her, emphasizing that Melissa was a good person who had helped him in the past. Eri's response surprised everyone when she affectionately referred to Izuku as Daddy. Internally, Izuku was taken aback, realizing the depth of their bond. Inko, overwhelmed with joy, began to envision a future filled with grandchildren, while Toshinori shared in the surprise. Eri explained her reasoning, saying it was because Izuku took care of her and taught her things. This made Izuku smile even more, and he embraced her tightly, feeling a sense of love and connection. Eri reciprocated his affection, and together they walked hand in hand into the airport, with Inko and Toshinori sharing smiles at the heartwarming sight. Meanwhile, at Heights Alliance, Ochako Uraraka woke up with determination. She had made up her mind to confess her feelings to Izuku. After witnessing him sing the night before, she had dreamt of a future with him, filled with love and family. As she prepared to approach him, she unexpectedly bumped into Momo Yaoyorozu, who was also seeking Izuku. Curiosity piqued, Ochako asked Momo about her intentions. Momo blushed and admitted that she had developed feelings for Izuku, which shocked Ochako. Just then Bnha and a few others joined them, and the conversation quickly turned to their mutual admiration for Izuku. The revelation that Momo had fallen for him stirred jealousy within Ochako, who felt a strong sense of competition. Momo, undeterred, expressed her intent to confess to Izuku, prompting Ochako to protest vehemently. The tension escalated as each girl voiced her feelings, revealing that they all had a crush on Izuku. The atmosphere grew heated, especially when Tsuyu unexpectedly declared her interest as well, adding to the chaos. As the girls debated their feelings, Bnha discovered a note from Izuku, informing them of his departure to I-island for a tournament. Disappointment washed over them, but excitement also bubbled at the thought of watching him compete. Just then, Bakugo stormed out of his room, demanding to know what was happening. The girls explained Izuku's absence, and Bakugo's frustration grew as he realized he wasn't included in the tournament. In a fit of anger, Bakugo decided to confront Izuku directly, disregarding the girls' protests about privacy. He barged into Izuku's room, prompting Ida to intervene, but Bakugo was relentless. He rummaged through Izuku's belongings, discovering a hidden music collection that left everyone astonished. Meanwhile, Shoto Todoroki, along with his siblings, was having lunch with their mother. They discussed Izuku's upcoming tournament, and Shoto shared that Izuku would be facing some of the toughest pros. Their mother expressed her longing to meet the boy who had helped Shoto assess his powers, and the siblings finished their meal, eager to return to UA. Later, as Shoto, Fuyumi, and Natsuo made their way back to school, they were met with unexpected commotion, hinting at the unfolding drama surrounding Izuku and his friends. Bnha exclaimed with excitement about Midoriya's extensive music collection, suggesting that they should listen to it. However, Ida firmly objected, emphasizing that it was an invasion of Midoriya's privacy, as he had hidden those songs for a reason. Shoto, Fuyumi, and Natsuo entered the room, observing the various posters and action figures of All Might that decorated the space. Fuyumi felt a blush creep onto her cheeks, realizing just how much of a fan Midoriya truly was, while Shoto's gaze fell upon the bag containing Midoriya's music. Shoto questioned what everyone was doing there, drawing the attention of his classmates. Momo nervously stammered an explanation, while Shoto noted that they had discovered Midoriya's music. Bnha was shocked to learn that Shoto was aware of this secret. Fuyumi expressed her curiosity about Midoriya's singing abilities, while Bakugo, frustrated that he had known Midoriya the longest without knowing he could sing, shouted in disbelief. Shoto pointed out that they should not be rummaging through Midoriya's belongings, agreeing with Ida's earlier sentiment. Tokoyami and Kirishima also voiced their agreement, stating that they lacked permission from Midoriya. Mina, however, dismissed their concerns, questioning what their teacher, Mr. Aizawa, would do, expel them? Just then Mr. Aizawa entered, his eyes glowing red with anger, and asked who had broken into Midoriya's room. The students quickly pointed to Bakugo, who was taken aback by the sudden attention. Mr. Aizawa expressed his disappointment in the group for not stopping Bakugo, except for Shoto, who had not been present. The atmosphere shifted when Principal Nizu arrived with the big three and a girl with pink hair, causing the students to react with shock. Mirio, Tamaki, and Nijire joined the scene, with Nijire bombarding everyone with questions while Tamaki shyly hid behind Mirio. Mirio inquired about the commotion, and Mr. Aizawa explained that he was about to punish everyone for invading Midoriya's privacy. The big three paled upon seeing Midoriya's music scattered on the floor, and Mirio realized that Midoriya's secret was now exposed. He casually mentioned that he, Nijire, and Tamaki were also aware of Midoriya's singing talent, which elicited gasps from the others. Mirio proudly shared that they had even collaborated on a few songs with him. Fuwa, intrigued, expressed her eagerness to listen to the music. Meanwhile, Mineta, distracted by Fuwa's presence, commented on her attractiveness, only for Kaminari to agree. Their excitement turned to embarrassment when Fuwa turned to them, introducing herself as a second-year hero student while ignoring their behavior. Nizu began rummaging through Midoriya's bag, searching for a song to play, and pulled out a CD titled Immortals. Despite Mr. Aizawa's reluctance, Nizu insisted on playing just one song. As the music started, the atmosphere transformed. The students were captivated by the lyrics, with the girls dancing and Fuyumi particularly impressed by Midoriya's vocal talent. She blushed, imagining him singing just for her, while Natsuo noticed her reaction and chuckled, realizing she had developed a crush on Midoriya. As the song continued, the students were drawn into the performance, each feeling the energy and emotion conveyed through the music. Jiro, blushing and amazed, contemplated asking Midoriya to sing with her, feeling inspired by his remarkable talent. The room was filled with a sense of camaraderie and excitement, as they all shared in the discovery of Midoriya's hidden passion for music. Fuyumi expressed her excitement, her eyes sparkling as she shared her thoughts on the performance they had just witnessed. She was not alone in her enthusiasm. Natsuo and Shoto also felt the same way. Nizu, with a chuckle, suggested gathering everyone in the gymnasium, as he had a few important phone calls to make. The others looked at him with curiosity, unsure of what he had in mind. Meanwhile, Izuku was peacefully asleep, with Eri resting her head on his arm. Inko had found comfort against All Might's shoulder, while Toshinori himself was lost in a peculiar dream. Suddenly, he opened his eyes to find himself enveloped in darkness. A familiar voice called out to him, sending a jolt of recognition through him. It was his Nana Shimura, accompanied by what he could only assume were the previous wielders of One for All. Toshinori was taken aback, his heart racing at the sight of her tears, a rare occurrence that left him unsettled. He questioned what was happening, confusion clouding his mind. Nana urged him to act quickly, revealing that Midoriya was in grave danger. The urgency in her voice shocked Toshinori, freezing him in place as he processed her words. He needed to understand what was wrong with Midoriya. As he sought clarity, Nana locked her gaze onto his, emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. She implored him to promise that he and his friends would do everything in their power to save Midoriya, for the future of the world depended on him. Toshinori felt the weight of her request, a mixture of determination and fear settling in his chest as he grappled with the gravity of the moment. Toshi stood there, feeling the weight of his promise. He was determined to protect Izuku Midoriya, his young successor, and he understood the gravity of his duty. Nana, his former mentor, smiled through her tears as she embraced him, expressing her pride in him. She believed he would be a wonderful father to Izuku and a great husband to Inko, Izuku's mother. Toshi was taken aback by her insight, realizing she had somehow known about his plans to propose to Inko after the tournament. They had been dating for some time, and he had envisioned a vacation in Hawaii where he would ask for her hand in marriage. As Nana's words lingered in his mind, she reminded him of the urgency of the situation. He needed to save Izuku, or the world would face dire consequences. With a bittersweet smile, she bid him farewell, leaving him with a sense of dread. Toshi awoke suddenly, startled, and in the process, he roused Inko from her sleep. Concerned, she asked if he was all right. He reassured her, though he was still shaken by the dream. As he glanced at Izuku, who was peacefully sleeping with Eri clinging to his arm, he felt a wave of relief wash over him. It had all been a strange nightmare. Inko, excited about meeting Toshi's friend and his daughter, mused about the possibility of Izuku and the girl forming a bond that could lead to a future together. Toshi smiled at her enthusiasm, despite feeling a twinge of anxiety about Izuku's well-being. The pilot announced their impending landing at I-island, and Toshi's anticipation of reuniting with David and Melissa was overshadowed by his worries for Izuku. A few hours later, a group of students, heroes, and teachers gathered in the gym, with Class 1A notably absent. The presence of the Big Three and other notable figures raised questions among the attendees. Itsuka Kendo expressed her confusion about the sudden call to assemble, while Tetsu speculated on the importance of the gathering, especially for Class 1A. Monoma, ever the provocateur, made a disparaging remark about Class 1A, which ignited Bakugo's fury. Before the situation escalated further, Kendo intervened, knocking Monoma out. Principal Nizu stepped onto the stage, capturing everyone's attention. He acknowledged their curiosity about the purpose of the meeting and revealed that it was centered around Izuku Midoriya. Kota, worried about his hero's absence, inquired about Izuku's whereabouts. Mandalay reassured him, grateful for the positive impact Izuku had on Kota's perception of heroes. As the conversation shifted, teasing remarks about Mandalay's feelings for Izuku surfaced, causing her some embarrassment. Nizu, however, redirected the focus, explaining that he had gathered them due to their connections with Izuku, especially following a memorable karaoke night. He announced that Izuku was currently away on I-island and would not return for a week. Nizu then revealed that Izuku had left behind a bag filled with his music, which he intended to share with everyone. He pulled out a disc and announced that it was a music video titled, Welcome, featuring Izuku, Mirko, Tamaki, and Nijire. As the music began to play, Mirko recognized it as one of the songs they had created together with Izuku. The lyrics conveyed themes of unity, family, and celebration, resonating deeply with everyone present. Nijire's voice shone as she sang, captivating the audience, including the boys who were visibly impressed by her talent. The atmosphere in the gym transformed into one of camaraderie and nostalgia as they listened to the heartfelt lyrics, reminding them of their bonds and shared experiences. The performance served as a poignant reminder of the connections they had forged and the challenges they faced together, all while keeping Izuku's spirit alive in their hearts. Fua admired the beauty of the moment, expressing gratitude to Moata. Nijire felt a rush of warmth as she joined in, her cheeks flushing at the thought of what often followed such joyful gatherings. The atmosphere was lively as Izuku, Mirko, and Tamaki led everyone in a cheerful song about family and friendship. The lyrics spoke of shared happiness and the bonds formed among friends, creating a sense of togetherness that resonated deeply with everyone present. As the song concluded, the excitement lingered in the air. Nijire, filled with enthusiasm, thanked Izuku for the fun they had shared. In a spontaneous gesture, she kissed him on the cheek, leaving a mark of lipstick that turned Izuku's face a bright shade of crimson. Overwhelmed, he fainted, prompting laughter from Mirko and Tamaki as the video came to an end. The gym fell silent, tension thickening the air as jealousy simmered, particularly from Fuyumi. In her frustration, she unintentionally activated her frost quirk, causing the temperature to plummet and sending shivers through everyone. Natsuo, alarmed, urged his sister to turn off her quirk, fearing for their comfort. Fuyumi shot a cold glare at Nijire, her jealousy palpable. She inquired about Nijire's closeness to Midoriya, her tone icy enough to make Shoto, Natsuo, and Endeavor shiver. Momo joined in, her voice equally frosty, warning Nijire not to lie, as the other girls from Class 1A glared at her. Panicking, Nijire waved her hands in protest, claiming it was an accident and that she had merely been caught up in the moment. Mirko quickly intervened, defending his friend and downplaying the situation. He reassured the girls that Nijire could be quite sensitive and that her actions were unintentional. Eventually, the tension eased and the girls returned to their seats, though Momo shot Nijire a warning glance, leaving her feeling relieved yet aware of the teasing that awaited her later. With the moment of tension behind them, Nizu announced the continuation of their activities, pulling out another song for the group to enjoy. Meanwhile, on I-island, the teacher reminded the class to submit their assignments by the next day and informed them of the upcoming fighting tournament, which would take place from Wednesday to Friday, meaning there would be no classes during that time. As the students gathered their belongings to leave, one girl remained seated at the back of the room. Melissa, a tall and appealing blonde with blue eyes, sighed, reflecting on the recent events involving Wolfram and the heroic intervention of her uncle, All Might, alongside a boy named Deku. Lost in her thoughts, Melissa recalled a moment from the past when Deku had expressed gratitude for her support. The memory brought a smile to her face, but she was jolted back to reality when her phone buzzed with a message from All Might. He informed her that he, Izuku, his mother, and Eri had arrived at the airport and were waiting for her. Excited, Melissa jumped from her seat, grabbed her bag, and rushed out the door. Upon arriving at the airport, All Might gathered the group, suggesting they wait for Melissa before heading to Dave's place. Just then, Eri's stomach growled, signaling her hunger. Inko picked her up, agreeing that they should find a restaurant nearby for lunch. All Might decided to take a walk instead, reassuring Eri that he would return soon. He knelt down to kiss the little horn on her head, promising her a quick return before leaving the airport. Moments later, Melissa rushed into the airport and quickly spotted her uncle, who was accompanied by a short green-haired woman and an adorable little girl coloring at a table. She greeted All Might with a warm hug, thrilled to see him again. All Might briefly transformed into his muscular form before reverting back, coughing and causing Melissa to worry. He explained that he could no longer maintain that form due to the toll it had taken on him after his battle with All for One. Inko, with a closed-eyed smile, expressed her concern about Toshinori's health, reminding him of the risks associated with using his muscular form. He felt a wave of apprehension at her words, knowing she could be quite formidable when worried. Despite his nervousness, he assured her that he was still adjusting to his new limitations. Melissa watched the exchange, touched by the affection between her uncle and Inko, feeling grateful that he had found love. Inko introduced herself to Melissa, expressing how pleased she was to finally meet her, having heard great things about her from both Toshinori and Izuku. The two women shook hands, marking the beginning of a new bond as they prepared for the adventures that awaited them. Melissa smiled warmly as she greeted Inko, who was affectionately known as Grandma. Eri, curious and innocent, pointed at Melissa and asked who she was. Inko introduced Melissa as the daughter of her friend and a companion of young Midoriya. Eri, still trying to understand, asked if Melissa was one of her father's friends. The thought of being referred to as Daddy's friend surprised Melissa, but Inko encouraged Eri to say hello. Eri shyly introduced herself before hugging Inko, prompting Melissa to gush over how adorable she was. As the conversation shifted, All Might inquired about Dave, and Melissa shared that he had just been released from house arrest and would be returning to work soon. All Might expressed his plans to train young Midoriya for an upcoming tournament after they finished their current activities. Melissa, eager to see Izuku, asked about his whereabouts. Inko explained that Izuku had gone for a walk since he wasn't feeling hungry. Suddenly, a girl in the booth next to them exclaimed in excitement upon spotting Izuku, describing him as the cute boy with freckles from a video. Her friend suggested they go meet him, but All Might intervened, concerned about the attention. The girls explained that the green-haired boy from UA was famous for his singing, showing a video of Izuku's karaoke performance on their phones. All Might, intrigued, noticed the video was posted by a channel called GrapeGuy69, which raised his suspicions about the identity of the uploader. Meanwhile, at UA, Mineta sneezed unexpectedly, prompting concern from Kaminari about his health. Mineta felt a strange sensation, as if someone was talking about him. Just then, Nizu prepared to play the next song when his phone buzzed, revealing a live recording of Izuku about to perform at a piano. Attention was drawn to Izuku, who was walking through the mall on I-island when he heard people calling his name. Turning around, he was met with a group of excited girls, all eager to meet him. They complimented his looks and singing, making Izuku blush deeply. As they asked him to take pictures, he nervously tried to explain that they must have mistaken him for someone else. However, the girls insisted he was the same boy from the viral video, leaving Izuku shocked at how they recognized him. When one girl showed him the video on her phone, he realized it had been recorded by Mineta. Panic set in as he thought about how his secret had been exposed. The girls, undeterred, encouraged him to sing for them, asking for a love song. Izuku hesitated, feeling overwhelmed by the unexpected attention and the pressure to perform. Izuku was uncertain about the situation he found himself in, feeling the pressure from his friends who were eagerly encouraging him to perform. Despite his hesitation, he eventually agreed, albeit reluctantly. As he expressed his need for an instrument, a fellow student approached him, offering to let him play his piano. Grateful for the opportunity, Izuku made his way to the piano, unaware that one of the girls was recording him. Meanwhile, back at UA, his classmates were watching the unfolding scene with surprise. Kirishima commented on Izuku's unexpected charm, while Shiro marveled at the number of girls surrounding him. Shoto noted that Izuku seemed to be gaining attention beyond just his fighting skills, chuckling at the jealous expression on Fuyumi's face as she observed the girls. Kaminari shouted in disbelief at the attention Izuku was receiving, while Mineta lamented his own lack of luck, only to be silenced by Tsuyu, who warned him to behave. The atmosphere shifted as all the girls present, including Midnight and Mount Lady, radiated a fierce energy, making the boys uneasy. As Izuku began to play and sing a heartfelt love song, a crowd gathered around him, captivated by his talent. The girls watching were visibly moved, their earlier jealousy transforming into admiration. Mina exclaimed her excitement, and the other girls fanned themselves, overwhelmed by the romantic atmosphere. Ibra struggled with her thoughts, while Yui maintained her composure, secretly fantasizing about a future with Izuku. Mount Lady felt a rush of excitement, and Midnight squirmed in her seat, while Mei Hatsum contemplated a bold proposition. The teachers, Mandalay, Pixie Bob and Ragdoll, were equally enchanted by Izuku's performance, their expressions reflecting the charm of his vocals. As he continued singing, the emotions in the crowd intensified. When the song concluded, Izuku stood up to a wave of applause and cheers. Although he was still adjusting to this newfound attention, he felt a sense of warmth from the support around him. Approaching him, the group of girls showered him with compliments and questions about his relationship status. When he admitted he was single, the girls eagerly expressed their interest, leading to a playful rivalry among them. However, just as the atmosphere became charged with excitement, Izuku suddenly felt a surge of electricity coursing through him, causing him to clutch his head in pain. Back in the gym, Mr. Aizawa noticed Izuku's distress and alerted the others, prompting concern among his classmates. As Izuku struggled with the strange sensations, his eyes began to glow, and he fell to the ground, leaving the girls around him bewildered and apprehensive. The girl was unable to finish her sentence as Izuku felt the surge of one for all coursing through his arm. He raised it and slammed it into the piano, unleashing a massive shockwave of energy. The audience screamed in shock, desperately trying to hold onto something as they witnessed the chaos unfold in the gym. Bakugo yelled in disbelief, questioning what had just happened. As the dust settled, the girl who had been recording stood up to see Izuku, his eyes and body glowing green, seemingly out of control. All Might, Inko, who was holding Eri, and Melissa rushed into the crowd, All Might paling at the sight of Izuku's condition. He shouted for Izuku to stop as the boy's body began to stabilize, his eyes flickering before returning to normal. Izuku rubbed his head in confusion, trying to comprehend the damage he had caused. Panic set in as he realized the extent of the destruction, particularly the ruined piano. Inko, Melissa, and Eri approached him, concern etched on their faces. Izuku reassured them, explaining that it felt as though his quirk had activated on its own without his control. He looked to All Might for guidance, expecting anger but finding only fear in his mentor's expression. The voice of Nana echoed in Toshinori's mind, reminding him of the warning he had received in a dream about Izuku's malfunctioning quirk. He knew he had to investigate what had just occurred. Melissa expressed her relief, and Izuku felt a rush of warmth as he noticed how close she was. He greeted her shyly, feeling embarrassed. Melissa found his nervousness endearing but was suddenly aware of a dark presence surrounding the girls from earlier. She shot them a cold stare, ready to confront them. Just then, a voice interrupted the tension. Everyone turned to see the stunning heroine Mirko, her ruby-red eyes blazing with anger, and remnants of her milkshake splattered across her chest. Mirko approached Izuku with an intensity that made him nervous. He recognized her as the top-ranking heroine in Japan and felt a mix of awe and fear. She accused him of causing her milkshake mishap, grabbing him by the hair. Izuku panicked, insisting it was an accident, but Mirko slammed him to the ground, placing her foot on his chest. As she studied him, she realized he was the UA student everyone had been talking about. Her glare was fierce as she asked if he was there to compete in the tournament. Izuku nervously affirmed that he was, unable to ignore how appealing she was in person. Mirko declared that she intended to beat him in the tournament, her anger still palpable. Both Izuku and All Might felt a sense of dread at the prospect of facing her. Just as she was about to demonstrate her strength, a small hand tugged at her arm. Mirko turned to see a little girl with red eyes and white hair, resembling her but without bunny ears, instead sporting a small horn. The girl pleaded with Mirko not to hurt her father, tears welling in her eyes. Mirko's tough exterior softened at the sight of the child, as she had a weakness for kids and longed for her own in the future. Reluctantly, she released Izuku, allowing Inko and Melissa to help him up. Mirko warned Izuku to be ready for their match, then hopped away to clean up, leaving Izuku in a whirlwind of thoughts. He felt guilty for causing her anger and resolved to apologize to her before or during the tournament. His mind raced with questions about his quirk's sudden loss of control and the pain it had caused him. Eri, still holding on to his shirt sleeve, asked who Mirko was. Izuku explained that she was the number 5 heroine, known for her temper and independence. Eri remarked on Mirko's beauty, causing Izuku to blush and making Melissa and the other girls nearby feel a pang of jealousy. Toshinori urged them to leave, noting the crowd of fangirls still lingering. As they made their way to David Shield's house, the atmosphere was thick with mixed emotions. Back at UA, the events had left everyone in shock for various reasons. The girls were concerned about the closeness of the fangirls and Mirko to Izuku, while Nizu, Aizawa, Shoto, Bakugo, and Ida were worried about Midoriya's quirk malfunction. Nizu contemplated the implications of Izuku's condition and decided to contact All Might for further details. He gathered everyone's attention, announcing that they would listen to one more song before concluding the evening. Momo suddenly recalled something Eri had called Izuku, exclaiming in surprise that Eri referred to him as her daddy. The revelation caused an uproar among the girls, realizing that dating Izuku would mean becoming Eri's new mother. This only fueled their longing to be with him, while Todoroki began jotting down notes about Eri being Midoriya's love child. Meanwhile, the boys were astonished by the attention Izuku was receiving from the girls, feeling both envious and impressed. The atmosphere was charged with excitement and intrigue, leaving everyone eager to see what would unfold next in the tournament. Bakugo expressed his frustration, demanding that everyone quiet down. He pointed out that it was clear Midoriya had not acted out of malice. Rather, he had been trying to escape the attention of a group of girls before suddenly behaving erratically. Ida concurred, noting that Midoriya's unusual behavior suggested something might be wrong with his quirk again. Ochako shared her concern, mentioning that she had never seen Midoriya's eyes glow like that before, though she felt a mix of worry and jealousy about the situation. The girls from both Class 1A and 1B, along with the Pussycats, Midnight, and Mount Lady, all agreed with Bakugo's assessment. Midnight muttered her disdain for the girls who were vying for Midoriya's attention, while Yu, surprisingly, sided with her, prompting a glare from Nemuri. Pixie Bob expressed her longing to protect Midoriya, feeling possessive over him. Shino acknowledged the frustration shared by everyone, while Ragdoll sulked in jealousy, and Tiger shook his head in disbelief at the unfolding drama. Koda, curious about the dynamics between his aunt and Midoriya, posed a question about whether Aunt Ryuko and Tomoko had feelings for him. The three pussycats exchanged glances, their cheeks flushed with embarrassment, while Tiger raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the possibility of a budding relationship. He resolved to support them if they chose to pursue something with Midoriya. Shino struggled to express his thoughts, prompting Tomoko to step in and clarify. She blushed as she confirmed that they indeed felt a connection with Deku. Koda, with a hint of innocence, wondered if that meant Deku would become his new dad. The three girls and Tiger exchanged surprised glances at his unexpected question. Mandalay hesitated but eventually suggested that it might be possible, eliciting a smile from Koda. He reflected on how Deku had saved him from a villain, recalling the moment he had struck the villain in a moment of bravery, though he still felt a twinge of guilt about it. The girls and Tiger shared a collective sweat drop at the memory as Principal Nizu prepared to introduce the final song of the night. Nizu announced the title of the song, Burning Love, capturing everyone's attention, especially the girls, who were eager to hear it. Toru expressed her excitement for another love song as the music began to play. The lyrics spoke of rising temperatures and burning emotions, evoking a sense of longing and passion. Koika found herself lost in a daydream, imagining herself and Izuku on a beach, singing together. She placed her hand over her heart, feeling the warmth of her feelings. She was not alone in her thoughts. Ochako, Momo, Fuwa, Nijire, and the others also envisioned similar romantic scenarios. As the song continued, it described the intensity of love and longing, with the singer feeling overwhelmed yet exhilarated. Koika remained entranced, her mind filled with images of her and Izuku. The song's energy resonated with the group, each girl lost in her own thoughts of love and connection. When the song concluded, the gym erupted in cheers, and everyone began to disperse, heading back to their dorms while the teachers and pro-heroes made their way home. Koika fell onto her bed, a heavy blush on her cheeks and a smile on her face. She pondered whether this was what it felt like to be truly in love. As she drifted off to sleep, she whispered a hope for Izuku to return soon, unaware that she was not the only girl dreaming of him that night. Meanwhile, David Shield sat at his desk in his workshop, reflecting on the past months since he had attempted to reclaim his power amplifier, which he had originally intended to give to All Might. He had been so consumed by fear and memories that he had overlooked the bright future represented by Izuku Midoriya. Sighing, he turned to a photograph of himself and All Might from their younger days, when All Might was still in his prime. A bittersweet smile crossed his face as he acknowledged that while Toshi's power was gone, Midoriya was destined to take his place as a new symbol of hope. Just then, Melissa burst into the house, calling out to her father. David rose and walked into the living room, where he found his daughter with Toshinori, Midoriya, his mother, and a little girl. All Might greeted him warmly with a tight hug, and David returned the embrace, feeling a sense of camaraderie. He turned to Midoriya, expressing his happiness to see him again and hoping he was doing well. Midoriya responded with enthusiasm, eager to participate in the upcoming tournament. David then turned his attention to Inko, Midoriya's mother, complimenting her on her appealing daughter and expressing gratitude for the close bond she shared with Izuku. As they exchanged pleasantries, David noticed Eri shyly hiding behind Midoriya's leg. He gently asked for her name, trying not to startle her. Izuku encouraged Eri to speak, and she introduced herself, sharing her fondness for apples and her father. David was taken aback when he learned that Midoriya was adopting Eri, even though nothing was official yet. The room filled with smiles, and Inko playfully teased her son about the possibility of him giving Eri a mother one day. This light-hearted comment made All Might, David, and Inko chuckle, while Izuku and Melissa blushed, leaving Eri confused but curious about the implications of their conversation. Melissa was surprised when Eri referred to her as Mommy. The entrance room fell silent, with Toshinori and David staring in shock, while Inko nearly fainted, only to be caught by All Might. Melissa's cheeks flushed a deep red, but she felt no embarrassment. In fact, she welcomed the affection. Izuku, blushing, apologized to Melissa for Eri's unexpected declaration. Melissa reassured him that she didn't mind being seen as Eri's mother. Eri, filled with excitement, hugged Melissa's legs tightly, calling her mommy, which made Melissa smile even more. She picked Eri up and kissed her cheek, causing the little girl to giggle joyfully. All Might observed this interaction with a smile, believing that if Melissa and Izuku were to become a couple, she would make a wonderful mother to Eri, just as Izuku would be a great father. However, All Might's expression soon turned serious. He noticed something was troubling him and decided to address it. He suggested that Melissa and Izuku take Eri to watch some television while he spoke privately with David. Before they left, he requested a sample of Izuku's hair, taking a pair of scissors from David's desk. Confused, Izuku agreed, wondering why it was necessary. All Might carefully cut a single strand of hair and handed it to David, instructing him to scan it for any issues. Inko, feeling concerned for Toshinori, nodded and exited the room with Izuku, Melissa, and Eri, closing the door behind them. Once alone, David asked All Might what was wrong. Toshinori explained that he sensed something was off with Izuku and needed David to analyze the hair sample. David moved to his computer, placing the hair on a scanner. As the screen activated, it displayed a rapidly decreasing charge meter, currently at 92%. David was baffled by the reading. Toshinori leaned closer to the screen and recognized a name he had only heard once before, Hisashi Midoriya. David then pointed out that there was a video linked to the scan. He pressed play, and they both watched as the footage revealed a laboratory. In the center of the room was a glass chamber containing a 4-year-old Izuku, asleep and wearing a mask, clutching his favorite All Might figure. The video played on, revealing Hisashi Midoriya's voice, expressing disappointment in his son for being quirkless. He declared his intention to alter Izuku to make him as powerful as All Might, explaining that the boy's molecules needed to be charged for the experiment to begin. Toshinori and David grew increasingly anxious as Hisashi plugged a large cord into the wall, causing a bright green energy to illuminate the chamber. The charging meter on the computer climbed to 25%. Suddenly, loud banging echoed through the video. The voice of Endeavor, the flame hero, demanded entry. Both Toshinori and David recognized the name, their concern deepening as they continued to watch. Hisashi's computer displayed a reading of 77% as Endeavor shouted that they were breaking in. A massive explosion followed, and the number 2 hero, along with his sidekicks, stormed into the room, accusing Hisashi of unethical human experimentation. Toshinori felt anger rise within him, recalling Endeavor's own questionable past. Hisashi protested, claiming that the boy inside the chamber was his son. The situation escalated, leading to accusations of child abuse, and the sidekicks moved to rescue Izuku. In the chaos, Hisashi attempted to use his quirk, but Endeavor tackled him and restrained him with HNDCFFS. Hisashi pleaded for them to stop, insisting that Izuku's molecules were not fully charged. In a critical moment, one of the sidekicks pulled out the cord, leaving Izuku's molecules at 98% charged. The screen turned red, and an alarm blared, warning of incomplete electromagnetic bonding. Hisashi's frantic cries filled the air, expressing his horror at what had just transpired, leaving Toshinori and David in shock at the unfolding events. He struggled to break free, but Endeavor delivered a punch that knocked him out cold, ending the video abruptly. All Might and David stared at the screen, horrified by what they had witnessed. All Might began to cough up blood and fell to his knees, realizing the gravity of the situation. David rushed to his friend's side, concerned for his well-being. All Might understood now that Midoriya's cells were malfunctioning because they had not been fully developed, which explained why he had lost control of One for All earlier. David looked at All Might, horrified by the implications. If Midoriya died, the crime rate would surge and chaos would ensue. All Might placed his hands on David's shoulders, urging him to help. He expressed the urgent need for a new symbol of hope, stating that Midoriya was the only one who could take his place. David, recalling how Midoriya had saved both his and Melissa's lives, resolved to do everything he could to ensure the young hero's survival. He agreed to build a new machine to recharge Midoriya, though it would take time. He suggested that All Might spend some time with Inko before bed while he worked on the schematics. All Might sighed and made his way to the living room, where he found Izuku and Melissa watching cartoons with young Eri. Inko was in the kitchen, cutting an apple for Eri. When she noticed All Might's somber expression, she asked if everything was all right. He felt a wave of anxiety wash over him. He had promised to protect her son and had vowed to keep no secrets from her, having already shared the history of One for All and how he met Izuku. He knew he had to tell her the truth. He asked Inko if they could talk privately, and she agreed, giving the apple slices to Eri. As they moved to the bedroom, All Might took her hands and looked into her eyes. He began to explain the situation, assuring her that he and David were doing everything possible to help Midoriya. Inko's anxiety grew as she demanded to know what was wrong with her son. All Might took a deep breath and explained how Hisashi had attempted to experiment on Izuku before Endeavor intervened, which had led to the current malfunctioning of Midoriya's cells. Inko listened in horror, recalling how Hisashi had begun acting strangely after Izuku's BGMI. The realization of his madness struck her hard. All Might reassured her that unless they could recharge Midoriya's cells, he would die, but he promised that they would not let that happen. David was already working on blueprints for a new machine, and All Might reaffirmed his commitment to protect Izuku. Overcome with emotion, Inko hugged All Might tightly, tears streaming down her face. She pleaded with him to save her son, expressing her heartache. All Might comforted her, assuring her that everything would be all right. He transformed briefly into his muscular form to instill hope, making Inko giggle despite the dire circumstances. He advised her to spend time with Izuku, Melissa, and Eri, emphasizing the importance of keeping Midoriya focused and calm. He promised to keep her updated on the progress of the machine. The next morning, Izuku woke up to find Eri cuddled up on his chest. He gently roused her, and she sleepily requested a few more minutes. As he picked her up and exited the room, he felt a sense of warmth. In the kitchen, Inko was already preparing breakfast, and All Might was seated at the table. They exchanged morning greetings, and Eri, rubbing her eyes, greeted her grandparents, bringing smiles to their faces. Inko served a hearty breakfast of eggs, bacon, toast with apple butter, peeled bananas and milk. Izuku and Eri expressed their gratitude, and Inko encouraged them to eat up. Melissa soon joined them, ready for class, and inquired about David's absence. All Might explained that he was working on a project in his workshop and would bring him breakfast. As the conversation shifted to the upcoming tournament, All Might informed Izuku about the schedule. He encouraged Izuku to train hard, while Inko would watch Eri during Melissa's class. Izuku suggested taking Eri to the beach afterward, and both Melissa and Inko expressed their longing to join. All Might instructed Izuku to head to the training field, promising to join him shortly. Filled with determination, Izuku finished his breakfast and prepared to train. Melissa giggled as she prepared to leave. She turned to Eri and explained that she needed to train and get ready for the big day ahead. She encouraged Eri to be good for her grandmother and promised they would go to the beach later. Eri responded with enthusiasm, expressing her understanding. Before departing, Izuku kissed Eri on the forehead, wishing her well. Melissa then mentioned that she also needed to leave, not wanting to be late. She kissed Eri on the cheek and said her goodbyes to Eri, Izuku, and Inko as she exited the house, closing the door gently behind her. As Eri finished her breakfast, Inko took her plate and glass, placing them in the sink. She suggested to Toshinori that he should take breakfast to Dave, knowing he must be hungry after a long night of work. Toshinori nodded in agreement. Eri, curious about her grandfather, asked what was wrong with him. Toshinori reassured her that there was nothing wrong. He was simply busy with work. He affectionately rubbed Eri's head before getting up to kiss Inko, showing his affection for her. Before heading to Dave's workshop, David Shield had been working tirelessly throughout the night, attempting to finalize the blueprint for a new machine he referred to as a fusion chamber. Despite his efforts, none of the parts he had assembled were functioning as intended. Frustration mounted as he muttered to himself, urging the stubborn computer to cooperate. After a few more attempts, he finally found a combination of parts that were compatible, leading to a moment of relief as he smiled at his progress. However, he knew that the next phase, actually constructing the machine, would prove to be more challenging. Tashinori entered the workshop, carrying a plate of food, and noticed David's relieved expression. He commented on David's apparent happiness, suggesting that it was a positive development. David explained that he had completed the final design and was now ready to begin the construction. Tashinori encouraged him to take a break, offering to assist with the building process. After finishing his training session with young Midoriya, David expressed his concern about time, emphasizing that every moment counted as Midoriya's condition was deteriorating. Tashinori reassured David, reminding him that they still had some time left. He checked Izuku's meter, which indicated it was at 77%. He insisted that David should rest and that they would resume their work once he was done training Midoriya for the day. Reluctantly, David agreed to take a break, rubbing his exhausted eyes as he prepared to rest. Tashinori left the workshop, promising to return later. As David sighed and glanced at the beeping meter, now at 75%, he felt the weight of urgency pressing down on him. Meanwhile, as Tashinori exited the house, his phone began to ring. The cheerful notification announced an incoming call, and he quickly saw it was from Principal Nizu. Upon answering, he exchanged pleasantries with Nizu, who was preparing tea, and inquired about Tashinori's morning. Tashinori mentioned that he was about to start training Midoriya for the upcoming event. Nizu revealed that he had gathered everyone in the gym the previous day to listen to Midoriya's music, which surprised Tashinori and caused him to cough in shock. Nizu explained that Katsuki Bakugo had broken into Midoriya's room and discovered his music bag, a revelation that left Tashinori feeling uneasy about Midoriya's reaction. Nizu then shifted the conversation to inquire about Midoriya's condition, asking if One for All was malfunctioning. Tashinori hesitated, knowing he had to share the truth with Nizu. He confirmed that there were indeed issues but emphasized the need for discretion. Nizu assured him that he would keep the information confidential and urged Tashinori to keep him updated on Midoriya's progress. He expressed his willingness to support Tashinori and the team, stating that he, along with Aizawa, Midnight, and the other staff, would be ready to assist if necessary. Tashinori appreciated Nizu's support and promised to keep him informed. The situation was delicate, and both men understood the gravity of the challenges they faced ahead. Principal Nizu pondered his options, aware that the situation was dire. If Midoriya were to perish and All for One managed to escape from Tartarus, no one, not even the top 3 heroes, would be able to stop him. The only course of action was to keep everyone occupied by listening to Midoriya's music and wait to see what unfolded in the coming days. After a rigorous training session, Tashinori informed Midoriya that they had reached the end of the day's practice. Izuku had just finished battling a sentinel robot designed to mimic Mirko's fighting style. Initially, the training had not gone well, but after several hours of perseverance, Izuku had finally achieved some success. Tashinori praised him for his efforts, noting that it was unlikely he would face Mirko in the first event. If he won the next day, they would continue training on how to defeat her, emphasizing that Mirko was the highest-ranking heroine for a reason. Izuku felt a surge of determination and excitement, eager to prove himself. He expressed his need to prepare for a trip to the beach with Eri, mentioning that Melissa should be back by now. As he left, Tashinori felt a sense of pride, convinced that Izuku was the right person to inherit his mantle. He would do everything in his power to ensure Midoriya survived this ordeal and became the next symbol of peace, especially if Tamura Shigaraki and the League of Villains managed to free All for One. Later, Tashinori arrived home to find David already assembling various parts for their project. After exchanging pleasantries, David requested that Tashinori run to the store to pick up some crucial components. Suddenly, Izuku's charge meter turned red, indicating that his energy was dangerously low. Panic set in as David informed Tashinori that Midoriya was experiencing another malfunction, and his condition was deteriorating rapidly. Tashinori nodded in understanding and hurried off to gather the necessary parts, keeping Principal Nizu updated on the situation. At the beach, Izuku, Melissa, Eri, and Inko arrived, with Izuku removing his shirt to reveal his muscular physique, drawing the attention of Melissa and the other girls nearby. Inko took Eri to the changing rooms to get her into her bathing suit. When Izuku turned around, he was met with the sight of Melissa in a blue bikini. She shyly asked for his opinion and he stammered, complimenting her beauty. She returned the compliment, and they shared a moment of mutual admiration. As they settled in, Melissa asked Izuku to help apply sunscreen on her back. He agreed, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness as he gently rubbed the lotion onto her skin. The moment was filled with a sense of innocence and warmth, and Izuku felt a rush of emotions as he realized he was sharing a special moment with someone he admired. Eri soon approached them, dressed in her bathing suit and excited for the day ahead. Izuku lifted her up and encouraged her to build a sandcastle with Melissa while he took a quick trip to the restroom. As the two girls began their project, Eri innocently asked Melissa if she loved her father. Melissa, blushing but smiling, confirmed her feelings, stating that he was her hero. Eri echoed the sentiment, recalling how Izuku had saved her from danger. Melissa's heart swelled with affection as she thought about the bond forming between her and Eri. She was determined to protect her, realizing that if she was to become Eri's mother, she would do so with unwavering dedication. However, a wave of sadness washed over her as she considered the impending tournament and the possibility of losing touch with Izuku and Inko afterward. The thought lingered in her mind, creating a bittersweet feeling as they enjoyed their day at the beach. Melissa felt a surge of determination as she watched a group of girls rush past her, excitement evident in their voices. They were talking about a cute singer who had just arrived, and the thought of them trying to get his attention made her heart race with jealousy. She couldn't help but think that they were trying to steal her Deku. With a smile, she turned to Eri and suggested that she go play with her grandmother for a while, explaining that she needed to ensure those girls didn't bother her father. Eri happily dashed off to find Inko, who was sunbathing, but Melissa's attention was soon drawn back to Izuku. After finishing his business, he was making his way back to them when he noticed several girls staring at him, their faces flushed with admiration. They were whispering about his singing talent and speculating about his relationship status. As he walked, he felt a blush creeping onto his cheeks, but before he could escape, 3 girls approached him, eager for his attention. They recognized him from the previous day and excitedly asked if he could sing for them. Stuttering, Izuku declined, mentioning that he needed to return to his daughter. The girls pressed on, curious about her age and whether he had a girlfriend. Feeling cornered, he became flustered and, in a moment of frustration, accidentally knocked an ice cream cone from one girl's hand, causing it to land in her hair. The chaos that followed made him laugh, but he quickly regretted it when the girls expressed their anger at his rudeness. Just then, Melissa appeared, grabbing Izuku's hand and urging him to run as the girls chased after them. They dashed through the crowd until they felt they had lost their pursuers. Once they stopped to catch their breath, Melissa asked Izuku what had happened. He explained that he had simply wanted to avoid another awkward encounter, but it seemed he had unintentionally upset the girls. Melissa pointed out that he had indeed put ice cream in one girl's hair, leaving him shocked and a little disgusted with himself. Determined to return to Eri and Inko, they made their way back, but as they approached, Inko's worried voice called out to them, asking where Eri was. Panic set in as Melissa realized she hadn't seen Eri either. Just then, a cheerful voice rang out, and they turned to see Eri in the arms of Mirko, who was wearing a striking white bikini. Izuku's face flushed with embarrassment as he took Eri from Mirko, thanking her for looking after his daughter. Inko scolded Eri for running off, and Eri, feeling guilty, apologized for wanting to talk to the bunny heroine. Izuku comforted her, assuring her that it was okay as long as she asked Inko next time. Mirko observed the tender interaction, noting that despite the earlier incident, Izuku seemed like a good father. Izuku took a moment to apologize to Mirko for the mishap from the previous day, and she smiled, appreciating his sincerity. She found it refreshing that he took responsibility, and as they spoke, she felt a spark of interest in him. However, she also made it clear that she wouldn't go easy on him in the upcoming tournament, playfully warning him that she intended to give him a tough fight. As she walked away, Izuku couldn't help but admire her confidence, while Melissa shot her a jealous glare. The day had taken unexpected turns, but amidst the chaos, bonds were forming, and new challenges awaited them all. Eri called out to Mirko with a playful nickname, which made Mirko blush. She found Eri to be utterly adorable, but the attention also drew the gaze of some nearby boys. One of them made a comment about the nickname, but Mirko swiftly responded with a powerful front-facing axe kick that sent him flying back, likely leaving him with a swollen black eye. She thought to herself that only that little girl could call her that, feeling a mix of annoyance and affection. After a long day of classes, the students from classes 1A and 1B, along with the staff and professional heroes, returned to the gym, eager to hear more of Izuku's music. He welcomed everyone back and rummaged through his bag to find a song titled Trumpets. As he began to play, the lyrics filled the room, and the atmosphere shifted. The girls, including Momo, Ochako, Nijire, Fuwa, and Fuyumi, felt their cheeks flush with embarrassment. Mandalay quickly covered Koda's ears, her own face turning red as she wondered if Izuku was really singing about a girl undressing and missing her. The lyrics continued, and the girls couldn't help but feel a mixture of surprise and intrigue. They exchanged glances, each one wondering if Izuku had feelings for more than one girl. The excitement and hope swirled among them as they listened intently. As the song progressed, the intensity of the lyrics made many of the girls feel flustered. Thoughts raced through their minds, and they found themselves captivated by the emotions the song evoked. Fuyumi, in particular, gazed at Izuku with hearts in her eyes, completely entranced by the performance. Her brothers, Shoto and Natsuo, exchanged worried looks, concerned for their sister's innocence as the song continued to unfold. The atmosphere in the gym was charged with a mix of admiration and longing, as Izuku's music resonated deeply with everyone present. Each note and lyric seemed to weave a spell, drawing the listeners into a world of emotions and unspoken desires. Nizu was searching through his bag for a more suitable song when he stumbled upon one titled, That's the Way It Is. As he placed it into the player, the lyrics began to resonate with everyone present. The song spoke of the many miles traveled and the lessons learned along the way, emphasizing the importance of trusting in one's journey and recognizing that every path has its own significance. The atmosphere shifted as the group listened intently, some of the girls blushing at the depth of the message, even though it wasn't a romantic song. The lyrics encouraged shining light into darkness and reminded everyone that healing comes from understanding scars. As the song concluded, cheers erupted, and Nizu excitedly selected another track, this time called No More Parties in L.A. The upbeat rhythm filled the room, and the energy shifted as Bnha expressed her surprise at Midoriya's unexpected talent for rap. Mandalay, concerned for Koda, covered his ears while contemplating a private conversation with Midoriya. Mirio chimed in, noting that while Midoriya could rap, it wasn't his preferred genre, which was why he rarely showcased that side of himself. The rap lyrics painted a vivid picture of life in Los Angeles, touching on themes of fame, relationships, and the complexities that come with them. The girls couldn't help but blush at the playful and bold nature of the song. Midnight and Mount Lady exchanged glances, both amused and intrigued by the lyrics, imagining what it would be like when Izuku returned. As the song continued, it explored the ups and downs of navigating fame, the expectations placed on individuals, and the sometimes harsh realities of relationships. The narrative shifted between moments of humor and reflection, illustrating the struggles of maintaining confidence amidst the chaos of the entertainment industry. The energy in the room was palpable, with everyone caught up in the rhythm and the story being told through the music. The blend of excitement and introspection left a lasting impression, reminding them all of the journey they were on together, filled with its own challenges and triumphs. The atmosphere was electric as the night unfolded. A gathering of friends and aspiring stars filled the venue, each person eager for a chance to shine. Among them was a figure who had once felt overlooked, someone who knew the struggles of being in the spotlight and the pressures that came with it. This individual had experienced the highs and lows of fame, often reflecting on the past and the choices made along the way. As the music played, memories of friends and relationships surfaced. There were thoughts of those who had faced challenges, particularly the impact of family dynamics on future generations. The weight of responsibility loomed large, especially when considering the well-being of loved ones. The longing to protect and nurture was paramount, yet the fear of external threats lingered. The night continued with a sense of camaraderie, as everyone shared their hopes and dreams. Amidst the laughter and music, there was a recognition of the journey each person had taken to reach this moment. The celebration was not just about the present but also about the resilience shown in the face of adversity. As the evening drew to a close, the host took to the microphone, signaling the end of the festivities for the night. With a warm smile, he expressed gratitude to everyone for their presence and excitement for the upcoming tournament. The friends began to disperse, each retreating to their own thoughts, many of them reflecting on the inspiring figure who had brought them together. In the quiet of the dorm rooms, the girls pondered their feelings, particularly about a certain individual who had captured their admiration. The night may have ended, but the connections made and the aspirations shared would linger, fueling their ambitions for the future. David proudly presented the fusion chamber to All Might, declaring it the only solution that could save Midoriya. All Might beamed with approval, praising David's hard work. They decided to conduct a test before summoning Midoriya, and All Might took the initiative to activate the machine. As the chamber lit up with a bright green glow, everything seemed to be functioning perfectly. However, without warning, the machine erupted in a loud explosion. Startled, both men reacted instinctively. David grabbed a fire extinguisher and quickly doused the flames, but the sight of the ruined fusion chamber filled them with dread. David fell to his knees, overwhelmed by despair. He lamented the loss, feeling that he could not rebuild the chamber and that their hopes for Midoriya were extinguished. The weight of failure pressed heavily on him as he gazed at the charge meter, which had plummeted to 45%. All Might, shocked and horrified by David's defeatist attitude, urged him not to give up. He reminded David of his intelligence and past achievements, including creating All Might's costumes. Despite David's doubts, All Might reassured him of his support. With renewed determination, David requested his tools, ready to tackle the challenge ahead. The following day at UA, the atmosphere was filled with excitement as the students gathered for an announcement. The principal informed them that they would have 2 days off to support Izuku Midoriya in the upcoming I-island fighting tournament. The students of classes 1A and 1B buzzed with enthusiasm, eager to cheer for their beloved classmate. Koda, sitting on Shino's lap, asked if she would be rooting for Midoriya. Shino affirmed her support, expressing confidence in Midoriya's abilities despite the tough competition he would face. Monoma from Class 1B scoffed at the idea of Midoriya winning, prompting a frustrated response from Vlad King, who intervened to silence him. Mirio, with a playful grin, reminded Todoroki of a song Midoriya had created, suggesting that Principal Nizu might want to look it up. He warned Koda and Mandalay to cover their ears, hinting that the song was not suitable for children. As Todoroki turned to Monoma, he ominously prepared for a confrontation, setting the stage for an eventful tournament ahead. Deku had been waiting a long time to express himself through music, feeling that he had something significant to share. He had been working hard, and people around him were starting to recognize his potential. However, he faced a challenge. The type of music he loved to create didn't align with the expectations of others. He often found himself frustrated, wanting to produce music that reflected his true feelings, which were often rebellious and defiant. As he navigated the complexities of the music industry, he felt the pressure to conform to a style that didn't resonate with him. He was aware that many artists were repetitive and uninspired, and he wanted to stand out. He had a unique voice and perspective, and he believed that his authenticity would eventually shine through. Deku recognized the irony in his situation. While he enjoyed creating humorous and engaging content, he was also deeply passionate about making a significant impact with his music. He aspired to be more than just another artist. He wanted to be memorable and influential. He envisioned a future where his hard work would pay off, and he would be recognized for his talent. He reflected on the challenges he faced as a young artist, particularly the stereotypes and biases that existed in the industry. He understood that his identity played a role in how he was perceived, and he was determined to rise above it. He wanted to prove that he was more than just a label or a stereotype. As he continued on his journey, he felt a sense of determination. He was ready to confront any obstacles in his path and was eager to share his story with the world. He believed that his time would come, and he was prepared to seize the opportunity when it did. With each step he took, he grew more confident in his abilities and more committed to his craft, ready to make his mark in the music scene. In a bustling gym, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The crowd was filled with students from both Class 1A and Class 1B, all eagerly awaiting the start of the tournament. The tension was palpable as they settled in, their eyes glued to the screen. Suddenly, a loud voice broke the silence, announcing with glee that someone had just been humorously put in their place. Laughter erupted as Bakugo reveled in the moment, clearly enjoying the spectacle. Monoma, the target of the teasing, sat there speechless, his mouth agape in disbelief. The sight of his stunned expression only fueled the laughter around him. Mount Lady couldn't contain her amusement, pointing out Monoma's reaction while Pixie Bob, sitting nearby, purred in delight at the unfolding drama. With a playful smile, Mount Lady remarked on the unexpected fierceness of Monoma, suggesting that he was not someone to take lightly. Tiger, having trained with him, confirmed that Monoma was indeed a formidable opponent. As the playful banter continued, Mount Lady expressed her intent to challenge Monoma further when he returned, raising her hand in excitement. Mandalay, ever the caretaker, quickly intervened, ensuring that Koda's ears were covered to shield him from the more colorful exchanges. The young boy looked on, puzzled by the adult humor surrounding him. In the midst of the light-hearted chaos, Shino, feeling a bit flustered, reacted to the playful challenge, while Ragdoll eagerly joined in, expressing her enthusiasm for the upcoming competition. The atmosphere shifted as someone reminded the group that the tournament was about to commence. With a sense of urgency, the television was switched to the correct channel, and the first round featuring Izuku was set to begin. The excitement in the gym reached a fever pitch as everyone prepared for the thrilling match ahead, their earlier laughter now transformed into eager anticipation for the battles to come. Izuku Midoriya stood in the locker room, changing into his hero costume as the announcer's voice echoed through the comms. The announcement informed all participants that the first match would begin in 2 minutes, and Izuku realized he was up first, facing Yo Shindo. He recalled Shindo from the Provisional Hero License exam. Although Shindo initially appeared kind and polite, Izuku knew that his demeanor could shift dramatically, especially when he was angry. Determined to act quickly, Izuku thought about how challenging it would be to navigate Shindo's quirk, Vibrate. He planned to use full cowling to gain the upper hand and knock Shindo out of bounds. Other fighters glanced at him, slightly unsettled by his muttering. As the match began, the announcer welcomed everyone to I-island's fighting tournament, introducing Izuku as the young hero who had saved Professor Shield. With a confident smile, Izuku entered the arena, greeted by cheers from the audience, particularly from the girls who admired his singing talent. Eri, sitting on Inko's lap with Melissa beside her, cheered enthusiastically. The announcer then introduced Shindo, who entered the arena with a smile, acknowledging Izuku's newfound fame. However, Izuku was not deceived and quickly took a battle stance, ready for action. Shindo's expression shifted to seriousness as he prepared to engage. The pro-hero cow lady signaled for the combatants to begin. Shindo slammed his hands on the ground, activating his quirk, which caused the ground to shake. In response, Izuku jumped into action, utilizing full cowling to deliver a powerful kick to Shindo's face. Mirko, watching from the sidelines, felt a mix of shock and excitement, recognizing Izuku's impressive move. Despite sustaining a broken nose, Shindo retaliated with a punch that sent Izuku flying backward. He expressed his respect for Izuku but declared that he intended to win. Izuku, aware that few outside of UA and some pro-heroes had seen him use his other quirk, Black Whip, launched it from his finger, wrapping it around Shindo. The audience, including Mirko, was astonished by this unexpected display of power. Izuku swung his arm and sent Shindo out of bounds. With the announcement of Izuku's victory, the audience erupted in cheers, including those watching from UA. Koda celebrated his hero's success, while the girls joined in the applause. Nizu commented on Izuku's impressive performance and suggested they listen to more of his music. Meanwhile, Shindo, frustrated by his loss, looked up to see Izuku extending a hand to him. Izuku offered words of encouragement, and Shindo, realizing he shouldn't be so upset, accepted the gesture. He acknowledged Izuku's talent and warned him to be ready for his next fight, hinting at Mirko's formidable skills. Izuku felt a sense of apprehension at the thought of facing her. After exiting the field, Izuku joined his friends and family in the stands, taking a seat between All Might, his mother, and Melissa. Eri climbed onto his lap, and Melissa praised his performance, causing Izuku to blush. All Might congratulated him and reminded him of the challenge that lay ahead against the highest-ranking heroine in Japan. The announcer introduced Mirko, the determined and fierce rabbit hero, as she hopped into the arena. Izuku felt a mix of admiration and anxiety as she declared her intent to defeat anyone in her way. The match began, and Mirko quickly showcased her strength, defeating her opponent, Nagamasa Mora, with impressive speed and skill. Izuku was left in awe of her power, realizing the challenge he would face in their upcoming match. Later, as Izuku walked alone on the streets, he reflected on the day's events. Melissa and his mother had taken Eri to the Expo, leaving him to contemplate his next steps. Suddenly, he felt a hand on his shoulder and turned to find Mirko standing before him. She inquired about his girlfriend and child, causing Izuku to blush and deny any romantic involvement. Mirko, intrigued, insisted that he follow her to get to know his opponent better. Though confused, Izuku complied, and they found themselves in a karaoke bar, where Mirko prompted him to share more about himself. Izuku approached Mirko with a mix of excitement and nervousness, holding out his hero notebook and a pin for her to sign. She accepted the notebook and signed it before returning it to him. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Izuku expressed his thanks, feeling a rush of happiness at receiving her autograph. Curious about his aspirations, Mirko asked him why he wanted to become a hero. Izuku shared his dream of emulating All Might, hoping to bring smiles to people's faces and become the world's greatest hero. Mirko found it interesting that their quirks were somewhat similar and inquired if he could sing. Izuku admitted that singing was just a hobby for him and that he had no intention of pursuing a music career. With a playful challenge, Mirko encouraged him to sing something, pointing toward the stage. Izuku was taken aback by the request, feeling a mix of surprise and anticipation. Izuku took a deep breath as he stepped onto the stage, relieved to find that the crowd was not overwhelmingly large, especially with fewer girls present. His gaze landed on Mirko, who wore a confident smirk, and he realized she was challenging him despite their upcoming fight. Determined to rise to the occasion, he turned to the DJ and requested a song. The DJ nodded and began to play the track. As the music filled the air, Izuku felt a surge of energy. He poured his heart into the performance, expressing his feelings through the lyrics. Mirko watched intently, her curiosity piqued. She had been contemplating the possibility of Izuku being someone special, but she was cautious. She needed to see how well he could fight before allowing herself to fall for him. As the song concluded, the crowd erupted in cheers, and Izuku felt a rush of warmth spread across his cheeks. He returned to his seat, only to find Mirko looking at him with a mixture of surprise and admiration, her face flushed. Nervously, he asked how he had done. Mirko nodded, acknowledging his performance, but her expression hinted at a challenge. She informed him that winning her over would not be easy, but if he succeeded in defeating her tomorrow, there would be a reward waiting for him. With that, she left, leaving Izuku in a state of confusion and excitement. He rushed to the bathroom, splashing cold water on his face as he processed her words. The idea of a reward from Mirko sent his mind racing, and he felt a surge of energy coursing through him, causing him to unintentionally wreak havoc in the bathroom. The next day arrived, and Izuku was filled with anticipation. He had just won his second match against the number 9 hero, Yoroi Masha, while Mirko had triumphed over her friend, the dragon hero Ryukyu. Now, the moment of truth had come. If he could defeat Mirko, not only would he win the tournament, but he would also discover what the mysterious reward entailed. In the stands, Inko watched nervously, hoping for her son's victory. Melissa, sitting beside her, expressed concern about the absence of Izuku's father and Uncle Might. Inko reassured her, though her own anxiety lingered. She turned to Eri, who was happily enjoying a candy apple in Melissa's lap. When asked who she thought would win, Eri expressed her admiration for Mirko but declared her longing for her father to come out on top. Back at UA, The atmosphere was electric as everyone anticipated the upcoming battle. Izuku, one of the most powerful students in Class 1A, was set to face off against the highest-ranking heroine in all of Japan. The tension in the air was palpable as they prepared for what promised to be a fierce and unforgettable fight. It was shaping up to be an intense battle, and Kirishima wondered if Midoriya would be strong enough to defeat a pro-hero as formidable as Mirko. Kota expressed his confidence, believing that Deku would triumph over the powerful bunny hero. The Pussycats exchanged worried glances, while Shoto watched the television with concern. Even with both arms broken, Izuku had come close to defeating Shoto during the sports festival. The only reason Shoto had emerged victorious was that Midoriya had managed to provoke him into using his fire abilities. Although Shoto had gained more control over his power since then, he knew that if pushed, Midoriya would go to extreme lengths, even risking injury, to secure a win. This thought troubled Shoto as he feared that Mirko might overpower Midoriya, but he remained supportive of his friend. Meanwhile, the girls from Class 1A and 1B, along with Nijire, Fuyumi, Fuwa, and others, felt a mix of anxiety and hope for their beloved cinnamon roll. They believed in Izuku's potential to succeed. Back on I-island, Izuku waited in the tunnel, glancing up to see Eri alongside his mother and Melissa. However, he noticed the absence of All Might and Mr. Izumi, which left him feeling a bit unsettled as the anticipation of the upcoming fight loomed over him. With all their strength, David and Toshinori stood before the newly repaired fusion chamber, a mixture of hope and anxiety swirling in the air. David felt a knot of fear in his stomach as he contemplated the consequences of another failure. If the machine malfunctioned again, there would be no time to rebuild it, and Izuku's life would be in jeopardy. This time, it had to work. David expressed his uncertainty to Toshinori, voicing his concerns about the potential for failure. He looked to the former number 1 hero for reassurance, and Toshinori placed a comforting hand on his friend's shoulder. With a steady voice, Toshinori assured David that everything would be fine, and together they turned their attention back to the glass-encased machine, ready for David to initiate the test. Meanwhile, Izuku stood in the arena, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The announcer's voice boomed over the crowd, signaling the final round of the year's fighting tournament. The anticipation was palpable as the audience awaited the clash between the green-haired boy, Izuku Midoriya, and his opponent. The announcer declared the start of the match as Izuku and Rumi, known as Mirko, entered the arena. Mirko, grinning confidently, expressed her excitement for the fight, while Izuku adopted a serious battle stance, determined not to go down easily. The atmosphere was electric as Mirko charged forward, but just as Izuku prepared to counter, he felt a familiar surge of energy coursing through him. His eyes glowed bright green, surrounded by crackling electricity as he activated One for All. With a fierce battle cry, Izuku unleashed a powerful attack that sent a shockwave through the arena. Mirko found herself momentarily blinded by the dust and debris, frantically searching for her opponent. Just as she spotted him, he launched a massive attack, and she barely dodged a powerful strike that could have crushed her. As the smoke cleared, Izuku stood before her, his hood obscuring his face but his glowing eyes piercing through, giving him a predatory appearance. The audience watched in awe, noting the intensity of Izuku's transformation. Mirko, though impressed, was determined to regain control of the fight. She charged at him, ready to deliver a powerful kick, but Izuku intercepted her with a solid punch to the stomach. The impact shocked everyone, and Mirko quickly recovered, realizing that Izuku had improved significantly since their last encounter. Instead of being on the defensive, she found herself challenged by him. As the fight continued, Mirko managed to land a kick that knocked Izuku's hood off, revealing his determined expression. She felt a strange admiration for him, even considering the possibility of a connection between them. However, Izuku's glowing eyes and the electricity surrounding him made her question whether he was truly in control of himself. In a moment of rage, Izuku leaped into the air, channeling all his power into One for All. His laughter echoed through the arena, signaling the audience to brace themselves for what was to come. With a mighty declaration, he unleashed a devastating blow that sent Mirko crashing to the ground, creating a massive shockwave that left the crowd in stunned silence. As the dust settled, Izuku found himself coughing and bloodied, but he realized he had won the match. The announcer confirmed Mirko's defeat, and the audience erupted in cheers for Izuku. His friends celebrated his victory, but there were also concerns about his well-being, as it was clear he had pushed himself to the limit. Meanwhile, All Might and David were in a state of alarm, realizing that Izuku's energy levels were dangerously low. They rushed to activate the fusion chamber, knowing that time was of the essence. All Might urged David to hurry, emphasizing that they couldn't afford to waste any time. On stage, Izuku basked in the glory of his victory, but he was also troubled by the circumstances surrounding it. The announcer approached him, congratulating him on his performance and asking if he had anything to say. Remembering All Might's encouragement, Izuku declared his presence to the crowd, raising his fist triumphantly. The audience cheered, but then the announcer surprised him by asking if he would sing for everyone. Caught off guard, Izuku hesitated but ultimately agreed, especially when he saw the eager expression on Eri's face. With a guitar handed to him, he began to play a heartfelt song, pouring his emotions into the performance. As he sang, the audience was captivated, and many girls in the stadium found themselves blushing at his heartfelt vocals. Even Mirko, who had just regained consciousness, listened intently, feeling a connection to Izuku's words. She smiled, thinking about the fun they could have together in the future. Izuku's song resonated with everyone, and as he continued to sing, the atmosphere in the arena transformed into one of unity and admiration, solidifying his place not just as a hero in battle, but also as a beacon of hope and inspiration for all. The stadium erupted in cheers as Izuku stood on the stage, feeling a rush of pride and excitement. He glanced up into the stands, where his mother, Melissa, and Eri were smiling down at him, their faces beaming with joy. After the event, Izuku exited the locker room, ready to reunite with his friends, when he suddenly heard a voice behind him. It was Mirko, who approached him with a playful smile, acknowledging his victory. Izuku felt a blush creep onto his cheeks as he stammered a response. Mirko moved closer, playfully pinning him against the wall and teasingly suggesting it was time for his reward. Just as she leaned in, Eri came running over, calling out to Izuku and hugging him tightly. She excitedly exclaimed how proud she was that he had beaten Ms. Bunny Lady, which melted the hearts of both Izuku and Mirko. Izuku smiled at Eri, but then felt a soft touch on his cheek. He turned to see Melissa, who had just kissed him on the cheek, blushing shyly. However, the moment was interrupted when Mirko shot a jealous glare at Melissa. Izuku turned to his mother, asking if she had seen All Might or Mr. Shield. Inko hesitated, explaining that they were busy working on a special project. Izuku's expression shifted as he realized something was wrong, and he began to panic, feeling overwhelmed. He shouted in frustration, drawing the attention of those around him, including someone who started recording the scene. Eri approached him with concern, but Izuku's eyes began to glow green, and he felt his body malfunctioning. In a moment of distress, he accidentally unleashed a burst of energy, causing chaos and panic. Eri cried out in fear as Izuku's powers surged uncontrollably, and he realized he had unintentionally hurt her. Horrified by what had just happened, he stood frozen, trembling at the realization of his actions. Eri, with tears in her eyes, called out to him, but Izuku, feeling too dangerous, urged her to stay back and ran away, leaving everyone in shock. Back at UA, the atmosphere was tense as classmates and teachers processed the incident. Mirio, Nijire, Tamaki, and others were horrified to witness Izuku, the gentle and kind-hearted boy they knew, hurt Eri, the girl who saw him as a father figure. Inko, Melissa, and Mirko rushed to Eri's side, checking her injuries while feeling a deep sense of dread. Eri reassured them that she was okay, but the question lingered in the air. Why had Izuku hurt her? Inko realized it was time to explain the truth about Izuku's condition. Just then, All Might and David's shield arrived, pulling a large machine behind them, looking for answers. Melissa demanded to know where they had been, and All Might urgently asked about Izuku's whereabouts. Melissa explained that he had run away after the incident. Eri, with tears streaming down her face, expressed her concern for her father. David revealed the grim reality. Izuku was malfunctioning, and if they didn't find him soon, he could be in serious danger. The news sent shockwaves through everyone watching, and panic spread among Izuku's friends and family. They felt helpless, unable to do anything but worry. Nizu tried to calm everyone down, but Aizawa confronted him, demanding to know why they hadn't acted sooner. Nizu sighed, knowing he had to reveal the truth about Izuku's past and the complications that had arisen from it. Meanwhile, Melissa held Eri close, trying to comfort her as they all waited for news. She couldn't shake the fear that Izuku, the boy with a true hero's heart, might not survive. Suddenly an idea struck her. She could reach out to him. Kneeling down, she pulled out her phone and called Izuku, desperately hoping he would answer. As Izuku walked through a park, he felt a wave of guilt wash over him. He berated himself for hurting Eri, feeling like he could never be a hero again. Just then he heard his phone ring, and Eri's voice echoed in his mind, pleading for him to return. Overwhelmed, Izuku screamed in frustration, releasing a powerful shockwave that shook the ground. Hearing the commotion, Melissa and Eri looked up at the disturbance. Without thinking, Eri dashed toward the source of the sound, and Melissa, along with all Might, Inko, David and Mirko, followed closely behind. When Eri arrived at the park, she saw the aftermath of Izuku's outburst, with debris scattered everywhere and people recovering from the blast. In the center of the chaos, she spotted a giant crater and in it her father. Eri called out to him, her heart racing with hope and fear, ready to reach out to the one person she believed would always protect her. Izuku lay on the ground, his arms broken and surrounded by a pool of his own blood. He struggled to stay conscious, calling out for Eri, warning her to stay away as he feared he might hurt her. Eri, determined to save him, insisted that she needed to get him into Grandma Shield's machine. She began dragging him toward the fusion chamber, unaware that others who had recovered from the blast were watching and recording the scene. Back at UA, tension filled the air as the screen flickered to life, revealing Eri placing Izuku inside a glass machine. Confusion swept through the crowd as they questioned Eri's actions. She closed the glass and noticed the beeping meter indicating that time was running out. Despite her small stature, Eri summoned all her strength to push the lever down, activating the fusion chamber. A green glow enveloped the interior, providing Izuku with the energy he desperately needed. Eri pressed her hands against the glass, gazing at her injured adoptive father. Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded for him to be okay. Izuku, despite his pain and broken arm, managed to raise his hand to the glass, placing it against hers. A tear fell from his eye as he expressed his sorrow before lowering his hand and closing his eyes. Panic surged within Eri as she called out for him to wake up, her cries echoing in the hearts of those watching. At UA, friends and allies were devastated. Ochako, Momo, Koika, Nijire, and the other girls wept openly, while Kota screamed for Izuku to return. Mandalay held them tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks, as Tiger comforted the group. Shoto and Natsuo embraced their crying sister, sharing in the collective grief. Eri turned to see Melissa, who froze in shock at the sight of Izuku's lifeless form in the machine. Heartbroken, she covered her mouth, torn between approaching and the reality of the situation. David rushed in, urging everyone to move aside as he assessed the situation. He realized the fusion chamber was operational but saw that the meter was completely empty. Regret washed over him as he informed Eri that they were too late. All Might fell to his knees in anguish, feeling the weight of his failure. Inko, Izuku's mother, cried out in despair, collapsing to the ground as Melissa comforted her. Mirko, the top heroine, felt the sting of regret for not recognizing Izuku's need for help sooner. David Shield, devastated, turned off the fusion chamber and lifted the glass, removing Izuku's broken body. Eri cried out, trying to take him back, but David gently handed Izuku to her. He tried to console her, but the reality was harsh. Izuku was gone. All Might, filled with sorrow, lamented his inability to save his student. Back at UP, Katsuki Bakugo stared at Izuku, tears threatening to spill as memories of their past flooded his mind. He recalled the harsh words he had spoken, realizing the weight of his actions. Eri clung to Izuku, expressing her sorrow for not being able to save him, declaring him her hero and vowing to love him always. The atmosphere grew heavy with mourning as everyone processed the loss of the young hero who had protected their home. Silence enveloped the crowd, each person grappling with their grief. Suddenly, Eri's horn began to glow, and Izuku's charge meter beeped back to life, rising rapidly. Eri felt a hand grasp hers, and as she opened her eyes, she saw Izuku's arms fully healed, his hand holding hers. Speechless, she watched as he opened his eyes and greeted her with a smile. Overjoyed, Eri cried out in happiness, laughing and hugging him tightly as the glow from her horn faded. Inko, Melissa, and Mirko rushed to their side, while All Might and David checked Izuku's meter, confirming that his molecules had recharged completely. The crowd at UA gasped in disbelief, and joy erupted as they realized he was alive. Cheers filled the air, and Kota celebrated, hugging the girls as they rejoiced. Mirko reflected on the miracle, acknowledging that Eri had somehow saved Izuku. The girls, filled with joy, embraced one another, relieved that they had not lost him without expressing their feelings. Momo suggested they all talk about their shared love for Izuku and their longing to support Eri as a family. As the scene unfolded, Shoto smiled, thinking about the challenges that awaited Izuku upon his return. Meanwhile, on I-island, David marveled at the impossible turn of events, while All Might simply shrugged, sharing in the joy of the moment as they approached Izuku, who had come back to them. Eri looked up with concern, asking if everything was all right. Izuku smiled gently as he wiped away her tears, reassuring her that he was okay now, thanks to her, his little heroine. Just then, Inko rushed in, enveloping both of them in a tight embrace. Overwhelmed with emotion, she expressed her relief at Izuku's safety, fearing she had lost him. Izuku, smiling through his own tears, acknowledged Eri's role in saving him. Inko, feeling grateful, took Eri from Izuku and hugged her granddaughter tightly. Suddenly, Melissa entered the scene, kissing Izuku passionately, which caught him off guard. Mirko, witnessing this, felt a surge of jealousy and pushed Melissa aside, kissing Izuku in a much more intense manner. This kiss was unlike Melissa's, filled with a fierce energy that left Izuku